Well, good day and welcome to you. It is October the 25th, and as always, I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. Now, if you're new to Search for Signs, and even if you've listened to these videos before, I always want to welcome you to this channel. Okay, you can listen to as many videos as you like. You can come and go as you please, stay as long as you want, of course. And I hope that you do, because this information, I think, is quite extraordinary. Now, I'm not the only one talking about this information, even though I'm probably the only one talking about it like this on YouTube. But there is a lot of background information that you can get, for yourself by just checking out the links that I provided in the description portion of this video. If you go to, let's say, the Share International site, link is in the description. You can read articles from these masters. You can see images of these miracles. You can read the background history of these masters and some more people asking questions to Benjamin Creme, who is the spearhead of this information, and that kind of thing. You get a much better sense. You can educate yourself better on this information. And of course, the most important thing that any one of us can do in regards to this information is see if there's any truth to it for ourselves. So that's the best way to do it. Now, I do want to say this. I've put up a lot of videos, and I enjoy reading the comments that come my way. Okay, I really, really look forward to the questions because they help me to understand really where everybody's mindset is in relation to this information. It's maybe not everybody, but the ones who are at least willing to speak out in public about it. And most comments I leave up. If they're questions, of course, I really, really try to answer them. And I'm not saying I have the best answer or the right answer 100% of the time, but at least I try. And then if there are comments that, excuse me, that I think really can help all of us understand this information better, I'll address those comments. And then there are comments, of course, that are disruptive. I got to take down. I got to moderate my channel some kind of way. But the comments that come my way, of course, that for the most part that I have to address that I think gives us a better understanding of this information is really just coming from the spiritual, mystical side of what people think this information is about. And I know enough about this information to really tell you that it really doesn't have a lot to do with religion. It does to some degree, but you don't have to change your beliefs in order to see any value in this information. So I'm not trying to change your beliefs on this. But if you were perhaps somebody who was into the New Age and what they call the Ascended Masters, and they see this as a very mystical event that's happening, there's no real truth to that. This is a pragmatic, in real life, happening that's going on. It's been going on for eons, but it's going on today. It's just been forgotten by most people because the memory and the information of these masters has been long been erased from the minds and memories of all of us pretty much. And up until relatively recently, humanity didn't really know anything about these masters because they were living not apart, but they were living out of the public eye. And they were only working through their own disciples in the world, but throughout history, any man or woman who made any kind of accomplishments in whatever area that you might think of, whether it's science or technology or inventions or engineering or architecture or arts even, or politics or teaching or spirituality, were a disciple of these masters working with their plan in some kind of way. Now is the time that they're coming back. And it's important that they're coming back at this particular time because we are really in rough shape as a people. Now, I don't mind addressing the comments about the mystical side of this, the mystical side of that, trying to answer and address the religious concerns that people might have. But the most important thing that any one of us can look at in relation to this information is how important it is for us to start taking seriously the problems that are facing each and every one of us as a global community. Hands down, the environment is probably the biggest problem that we are facing today. If we do not do something about it, it won't matter where you live, what you believe, how much money is in your bank account, or even how smart you think you are. Our only planetary home will die, and then, of course, we're going to die along with it. But there is still time to save it. Now, even though Maitreya says all will be well, all manner of things will be well, we still have to do something about it, right? But what he says, and this is the thing that I want you to take from this information, especially if you're hearing it for the first time or if you're really listening to it for the first time, okay? And I do mean it like that. That the only way to solve even our environmental problem is for nations to start to trust one another better than they are today. Now, there's some goodwill amongst some nations, but not amongst every nation. Now, Maitreya would say the only way to bring about trust amongst the nations is for nations to look at the inventory that they have that they're not using in terms of the resources and giving it freely to other nations. And those nations who take those resources can pay back in some way a resource in excess that they have. And I have a link in the description where I talk about the Marshall Plan and the peace that it created amongst those nations, to really as historical evidence of truth to what Maitreya is saying. You don't have to believe in what I'm saying about Maitreya being the return of the awaited teacher for the religious and the non-religious. It doesn't matter. Just look at that one statement. Do your own research on it and see if there's any truth to it. Because I would be willing to bet you when you start peeling away the layers of it, you'll see that there is truth to it. And then it doesn't matter who and what Maitreya is. It just matters what he's saying. That's the most important thing. Now, so I say that because I get so many comments that are about their belief versus my belief and, that kind of thing. And it's not really what this information is being presented for. So hopefully you'll look at it. Now, like I said, getting back to what we were talking about, the most important thing to talk about in terms of saving the environment, I want to tie it into our health. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit from one of Benjamin Creme's master's articles that he wrote back in the early 80s about health and healing. I'm just going to read a paragraph, and then I'm going to read what he talks about in terms of saving the environment, because they really are tied together. The health of each of us individually is being affected by the pollution in which we're taking in on a daily basis. And so we have to solve the pollution problem, and then our health will start to improve. But if you listen to it, what he's saying about the cause of our health issues, the cause of disease of all kinds, it might shed some light on it, because there's not a lot of people talking about health and healing in this way. So he says the first step in the eradication of any disease must be an understanding of its cause. Hitherto, the cause of most disease has eluded man's search. So ignorant has he been of the nature of his constitution and the laws under which he functions. From now on, as man proceeds along a more correct course and grasps the necessity of right relationship, which is also, let me say something real quick about that. Right relationship will only come when nations start to share with one another. That's the important thing. This will begin to be remedied. Disease is ultimately the result of wrong relationship to our higher self, the soul, to our brothers and sisters throughout the world, and to the whole of which we are a part. By the misuse of soul energy, we set in motion the causation. By wrong relationship to our fellows, we bring about disequilibrium and disharmony and illnesses of all kinds. Through our sense of separation, we cut ourselves off from the healing potencies which everywhere surround us. So, and then I'm going to tie it into the article he wrote about pollution entitled Earth in Travail, that was written in October and published in Share International in November of 2007. And again, if you find any truth to these articles, you find any use to these articles, definitely go to that link and read it for yourself, and there you can absorb his words a lot better than me trying to read it to you. It may be said that at last some men are beginning to take seriously the dangers posed by global warming and the consequent climate changes that this is bringing about. It is true that there is much disagreement over the reality and extent of the dangers and of the best means of approaching the problems which are agreed to exist. However, there is no doubt that some men at least are recognizing that men face a formidable task in halting the progress of destruction and in stabilizing the environment. It is also true that even the most aware and concerned of men know little of the extent and complexity of the problems. The problem of pollution is such a case. Pollution takes many forms, some obvious and easily dealt with, if the will to do so exists. Some, however, require a science and a remedy as yet unknown to men. They are so toxic and destructive that they must be given high priority to overcome. The effect of pollution on the quality of air, food, on animals, and on fish in rivers and the oceans is known but largely ignored. The most destructive of all, that caused by nuclear radiation, awaits discovery by Earth scientists. The upper levels of nuclear radiation are beyond the present atomic technology. They are also the most toxic and hazardous to man and the lower kingdoms. On all those levels, the problems of pollution must be overcome. This can be achieved only by a complete reconstruction of the present political, economic, and social structures. Man has ravaged and polluted the earth and severely damaged his own environment. Now man must see it as his top priority to remedy what he has hurt, and so restore to health his ailing planet. He must learn to simplify his demands on the planet and learn the beauty of simplicity and the joy of sharing. Man has but little choice. The urgency of the task demands immediate action. Few indeed realize the true scale of damage already done. The question may be asked, can planet Earth be saved, and by what means? The answer is a resounding yes, and by means which involve the transformation of the present modes of living by the majority of men. The paramount ambition of all so-called developed countries is to achieve an even higher percentage of growth of their economies to become thereby richer, and in an economic world based on competition, to attain dominance and power, and so enjoy a higher standard of living. This being so, the pillaging of the earth, the cavalier waste of resources, is seen as only natural and necessary. This irresponsible action has at last brought planet Earth almost to its knees. Maitreya, you can be sure, will not be long in addressing this urgent problem and in presenting his solutions. The first step he will advocate is the acceptance of the urgency which many today deny. Sharing, he will say, is the beginning of the process of change which will provide the answers to our woes and the rehabilitation of Earth. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.